Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
I've got a bunch of Twitter questions for Alan Watt. He's with us throughout the rest of the hour. And Doug, Chris, Stan, and others that are patiently holding. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. Also want to get into the economy and military developments with him. But finishing up in this short little segment, we've talked about the history of the elite, their systems of control, but talking about their end game, I mean, it is a totally selfish, horrible end game. They've got all these mid-level and low-level people on power trips with their little uniforms and signets and logos of power that defend the system, having no idea what the system is. But the globalists are now out in the open. The system is exterminating 80 to 90% of people, having 10 to 20% left as a suboid servant class, and the elite merging into biomechanical androids and living forever. Now, I'm not saying that's real or going to happen, but you go back to the French Revolution and other times, they promised their people, we'll give you secrets to live to 100. So they always use the same stuff. They always promise their socialism is some type of high-tech utopia. We see manifestations of that. So let's spend a few minutes on what their end game is.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, to get the end game, you have to go back into their ancient belief system, which is that basically the world was created all wrong. And their job is to perfect that which was left imperfect, which means through science they would perfect the world, everything in it. We see that with the modification of plants and trees and everything today. And man himself, of course, because they, being a dominant psychopathic type, really, and you can certainly pass on psychopathy. It's the same thing. If you want a pit bull, you can breed a good pit bull by interbreeding pit bulls, and you're guaranteed to have the same kind of offspring. Well, it's the same with these characters. Down through the ages, they picked the victorious type, the type who dominated whole countries eventually, either through warfare directly or through owning the kings and queens who did the wars for you. So they're very aggressive, but they also believe that they can alter man himself.
They're idiot savants. They're idiot savants of control, and they're playing God. In all these countless articles the last 2 weeks where they're saying lithium's good for you or viruses to reprogram your brain to make you submissive, they said man's defects in all these articles, man's problems. We're going to fix it.
Yeah, and what they don't mention, of course, in all their articles is that, you see, they were the ones who in the 1800s especially came out openly with guys like H.G. Wells, who was specially trained by Huxley's grandfather, Thomas Huxley, who was the best friend of Charles Darwin. And H.G. Wells with a bunch of other guys trained to be authors, to put stuff out there for the public to be amazed by and even want to follow, in fact. H.G. Wells came out with the idea of free love. We've got to destroy marriage altogether because marriage is the basic institution of the tribe, be it primitive or advanced. And if you destroy that, you destroy basically the tribe's ability to be cohesive. And
that's what, of course, Brave New World is about, is the state controlling and raising the children. He stated, and of course the Wedgwoods, the Galtons, the Darwins, they all intermarried, as you said earlier.
And the Huxleys, too. They all belong to the same families, actually. They're all related, that whole bunch you just mentioned. And what you find, too, is to say, if you destroy the basic tribal necessities, then you destroy the tribe, and they won't fight, you see. They're lost. If you look at the Darwin theory of an advanced civilization going into a less advanced civilization, the advanced will always triumph. That's what they tell you. And what they use for an example is what happened to America when the white man came in, and what happened to the American Indians. The writings of John Stuart Mill is very good on this, because they knew in the 1700s what would happen to the Indians.
Because you can't survive if you're not part of their Borg. Let's finish up with that. They want to make you dependent chemically, psychologically, biologically. Let's finish up with their master plan, and then to the phone calls, 800-259-9231. Alan Watt is our guest. Infowars.com, CuttingTheMatrix.com. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. This is Alex Jones. You've heard me talk about Cal-Ben 5-star soaps for years. This is an American-made product of the highest quality and compares to nothing you will find in stores. You can buy factory direct, shipped via UPS right to your door. Check them out on the web at 5starsoap.com or call 800-340-7091. Take my word for it. Once you've used Pure Soap, you won't buy anything else. Since 1947, Cal-Ben Soap Company has been showing consumers that soap can be tough on dirt and gentle on the environment. Buy American and stay clean, as well as support InfoWars. Visit 5starsoap.com today or call 1-800-340-7091. Well, Marty, what do you have to say?
As founder and owner for over 63 years, satisfaction is guaranteed or double your dirt back. Call us at 1-800-340-7091 for a free catalog or visit our website, 5starsoap.com. Thank you.
Listen up, friends. This is Alex Jones with key information. The mainstream media is now admitting that we're going into a depression. Don't be dependent on the government for you and your family. You need to get your own supply of high-quality storable foods from efoodsdirect.com. They're the best company out there, the longest continually operating, with a ton of great food to choose from. It's all fresh, made on a monthly basis, not some old cruddy food they're selling you like some of the other guys. Try their new evacuation pack, a 2-week supply of delicious, easy-to-fix food. It comes with all the equipment you need to prepare it. With open talk of a strike on Iran in the next 3 months, the crisis in the Gulf, and possible evacuations, get yourself and your family ready today. The place to go is efoodsdirect.com. Go to their website online right now, efoodsdirect.com/Alex, or call 800-409-5633. Again, on the web, efoodsdirect.com/Alex, or give them a call at 800-409-5633. Alex Jones here with urgent information concerning trendsresearch.com. The Trends Journal distills the voluminous ongoing research of the Trends Research Institute into a concise, readily accessible form. By tracking 300 separately defined domestic and international trends, the Trends Journal establishes the connections that others fail to see or misinterpret. Gerald Salente's Trends Journal allows you to anticipate change, recognize the implications, and take protective strategies. Individual readers from every walk of life can put the Trends Journal Trends Forecast and Trends Analysis to practical use. Extra information to keep you well informed throughout the year. When any current event of major social, economic, or political significance occurs, Trends Journal notifies its subscribers of their implications. When you subscribe to the Trends Journal, you'll also receive Trends Alerts. Visit trendsresearch.com today. That's trendsresearch.com. Subscribe to the Trends Journal. This information is too important to wait.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
We're talking about the only issue that matters, the issue that encompasses everything, the scientific dictatorship. In textbook after textbook written 100 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, a year ago, it's all repeated. It's all on record. Vaccines to reduce your fertility or sterilize you. Chemicals in the food and water and packaging to sterilize you and give you cancer. To reduce your lifespan. They're lying to you about lifespan. In the past, large numbers of children died before the age of 10. If you take the low lifespan of children out, people lived into their early 80s instead of their low 70s. This is just the facts, and they admit they're doing this. I mean, if you're a new listener, you're like, they say they're poisoning the food and water. They say they want a world government. I heard that's a conspiracy theory. That's a simple throwaway line to make you procrastinate and not look into this. It's 100%. It's 100% on record, everything Alan Watt and I are saying, okay? You can differ on our interpretation. But this is going on. You should be angry about that. You should be standing up against that. You should have respect for yourself. But they've taken the basic determination away from people to where folks on the news say, I don't care if they're saving my naked body scans. I have nothing to hide. First, they lie to you and say they're not saving it. They say there's no radiation. Now they admit it's very high. Now they say they're going to put cameras in all the cars watching us and tracking us, cameras in the backs of the seats watching you, listening to you on the airplanes. This is worse than Orwell. People say, well, there's already so much of it. I guess I'll go along with it. Well, then where does it end? Where does it stop? Alan, looking at time frames with these people, unless we get the word out, and then they'll just back off and move slower. But right now it seems they're rushing. Well, it doesn't seem. We know they're rushing towards the goalpost. that they're accelerating their entire program and that all of the birth pains we've seen so far were just preludes, that we haven't seen anything yet.
That's right. Even Bush Sr., when he came out with his speech on the New World Order, he said it's coming into view. It's coming into view. And what he meant by that is the coming new American century. This is the century of change. That academia were using that term for 50 years in the 20th century. The century of change with the 21st century. That's where they had to ramp ahead because they'd already dumbed down the people with inoculations and so on. And again, bringing in processed food. And it also destroyed pretty well, again, all the natural things that bound the people together. Marriage was totally destroyed by the end of the 20th century because there's an attack on it. And even that whole area is so fascinating to read, that the sectors that were put out there to bring down the family units, to bring in the drugs, the rock and roll, the free love and all the rest of it, the very things that H.G. Wells printed in the late 1800s to bring in free love and so on. And
he was part of orgies with Margaret Sanger.
Well, yeah, H.G. Wells was more than that. I mean, he made agreements with his 3 wives, I think, never to divulge what he actually got up to. He likes getting spanked and tied up and all this kinky stuff, you know. Most of these guys are perverts, you understand, that work for them higher up and near the top. They're all sadomasochistic types. See, sadomasochism is a big part of this because a sadomasochist wants to get up into the power ranks when they're psychopathic, and they really worship the person above them. They'll worship them, and they despise the person who down below, even the next level down, even in a military structure, as being weak, and they'll abuse them. So that's your sadomasochist. They flock into being willing servants for these guys who run the world. And this is, again, it's an old technique that's well understood by them. But they always have these odd perversions to do with sadomasochistic tendencies in their sexual life as well. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take some phone calls. But before I do that, Alan, any other issues or items that you think are important that should be discussed today?
Yes, because what we understand is, it's simple. You take the primitive tribe, we're all really just basically primitive, tribal, with tribal instincts. You destroy all of those, you destroy your cultural taboos, and when you have nothing left to hold on to, then you're in free fall, and they can then guide you as to where you're going to go in that new free fall. And that's what they've done with most of society. If they don't replace all that they've destroyed, you end up with the people like the American Indians who, like in Canada, are simply abject cases. They're chronic alcoholics. All the reasons for living have been taken away. All their old customs are taken away. Things that gave them meaning are destroyed. And that's what they do. So they've
had big scandals where they take the little Indian children, the natives, currently, this was even in the news, and they just kill them there at the facility. They murder them.
Yes, they do. They're still digging them up in Canada at some of these places out west, in fact. But it's very similar to what they've done with the European races that came into North America now, and the Europeans themselves. Their cultures were attacked later in the same way. Once we'd been over the Industrial Revolution, created the scientific things they needed to control us, we all worked towards it. Our dads and grandfathers worked towards it. And they went through universities too.
Well, I mean, looking at psychology and anthropology, and then we're going to calls, but I want your view on this, Alan. If you look at the American culture that Alexander de Tocqueville wrote about, French historian, or others, all strong cultures are self-sufficient. The family's number one. A husband wouldn't do something mean to his wife because he understands it's part of the unit. The wife wouldn't do it. The children know the only people they can count on is their family. Now, through the sitcoms and the movies and the women's magazines, it's fun to break up. It's fun to fight with each other. So they can isolate you as the individual animal and destroy you. And now you look at it, and quote, feminism is supposed to empower women. It's turned them into just bestial creatures. Same thing with men. They give us false tribes of UT football instead of the normal tribalism of your family and your private property and controlling your own mind. And they just, I mean, you try to talk to full-grown